My grandfather didn't raise his voice when he revealed the one truth everyone at the table had spent years making sure I never discovered. He simply set his fork down, wiped his hands on his napkin, opened his laptop, and calmly asked my mother, "Ellen, did you ever forward her the trust fund emails?" The first 10 seconds dissolved into noise and shock. Silverware scraped against plates. Someone inhaled too sharply. My mother went rigid. My sister stared down at her food like it might disappear if she didn't look up. And inside me, something shifted violently, like the ground had tilted without warning, because I didn't even know I had a trust fund. What my grandfather showed me next didn't just derail dinner, it rewrote the story I thought I knew about my entire life. My name is Ellen Hale, and for as long as I can remember, I believed that being quiet made everything smoother. When you grow up in a house where your sister's achievements are celebrated like trophies and your own needs are treated like background static, you learn to fold yourself smaller. You learn to soften your voice, to ask less, to survive by not demanding space. My mother used to say, "Don't make things complicated, Ellen," in the same soothing cadence other parents use to say goodnight. I believed her. I built my life around it. That's why sitting at my grandfather's Thanksgiving table and hearing the words trust fund associated with my name felt like someone had reached into my past and snapped it clean in half. A trust fund. Mine. The idea felt absurd. I grew up counting pennies, working weekend shifts at the grocery store, mending thrift store sweaters, and nervously asking my mom if there was anything saved for college. The answer was always the same. We're doing our best. Money is tight. Except money had never been tight. Not really. Not for Marissa. My older sister had dance lessons, summer intensives, a brand new car at 17. Somehow, at the time, it all felt reasonable. She was the star, the one meant to shine. I convinced myself I didn't need as much, that wanting less made me easier to love. Grandpa Arthur was the only one who never treated me like an afterthought. He remembered the books I loved, asked about my job at the college, showed up to my graduation when my parents said traffic made it impossible. Still, even he had never mentioned a trust fund, not once. So when he asked that question across the table, confusion wasn't the only thing flooding me. There was embarrassment too, the kind that settles behind your ribs and whispers that you're the only one who missed the joke. My mother didn't help. She didn't look at me. She looked at Grandpa, sharp and warning, as if she could will him to close the laptop before I saw anything else. My father kept slicing his turkey, even though no one was eating. My sister raised her glass, but didn't take a sip. Every movement felt synchronized, practiced, like they all knew the script and I'd walked in without a copy. And the truth landed before the laptop was even fully turned toward me. Someone at that table had been making decisions about my money, my choices, my future. Someone had been editing my life while I stayed quiet, trying not to be difficult. And if I was right, this wasn't confusion or miscommunication. This was 10 years of silence built carefully on top of one deliberate lie. Grandpa didn't rush. His hands moved slowly as he rotated the screen toward me, like he was giving anyone the chance to stop him if they dared. No one did. The glow of the screen spilled across plates and candles and my mother's tightening jaw. I leaned forward, my pulse loud in my ears. Rows of emails came into focus, subject lines repeating again and again. Annual trust statement, beneficiary notice, contact confirmation. 10 years worth of messages, 10 years of updates that should have gone to me. None of them had. For a moment, my brain scrambled for escape routes. Maybe the bank had the wrong address. Maybe there was another Ellen Hale somewhere. Maybe this was a clerical mistake blown out of proportion. I wanted to believe my mother when she whispered, "That can't be right," like she was the victim here too. Then I clicked the sender details. Every excuse collapsed. The email address wasn't mine. It never had been. It was a variation of my mother's address, the one she used for financial matters, the one I recognized from old utility bills she managed alone. My stomach dropped. "Why?" I asked softly. "Why would these go to your email?" I wasn't accusing, I was trying to breathe through the implosion of everything I thought I understood. My mother didn't flinch. I don't know, Ellen. Banks make mistakes all the time. Grandpa didn't look away from her. They don't make this kind, he said evenly. Color crept up my mother's neck. My father shifted like he might step in, but stayed silent. Marissa glanced between them, uncertain whether to be scared or concerned for herself. I opened the earliest email. 10 years ago. I remembered that year clearly. It was when I asked if there was anything saved for my tuition because my scholarship fell short. Mom smiled gently and said money was tight, except it hadn't been, not for the person these emails were meant for. I scrolled. Year after year, each message aligned perfectly with a moment I'd needed help and been told to manage alone. Skipped meals, long walks in the rain because fixing my car wasn't essential. Summers of double shifts while Marissa traveled to dance camps. Every memory sharpened under the laptop's glow. Grandpa spoke again, steady and unshaken. Ellen, this money is yours. It always was. Someone made sure you never saw it. The air thickened. My mother's stare burned into me, half panic, half warning. I closed the laptop gently, not to end the moment, but to contain the anger rising inside me, because now I knew this wasn't an accident. My life had been rewritten on purpose. I didn't open the laptop again right away. I rested my hands on the closed lid, feeling its warmth seep into my palms. 10 years of statements, 10 years of silence, 10 years of being told to be patient, practical, grateful, all while the help I begged for existed under my name, hidden under plain sight. Memories rushed back in sharp, humiliating flashes. My card declining at the bookstore freshman year, working overtime during winter break while Marissa posted photos from expensive programs, crying quietly in bathroom stalls because I didn't know how I'd afford another semester, and every time my mother's practiced smile. Life's expensive, Ellen. We all have to make do. No, she had made sure I did. Across the table, my mother straightened, reclaiming her composure. We're not jumping to conclusions, she said briskly. Ellen doesn't understand how these things work. Finances are complicated. The words cut deeper than I expected. I'd heard that tone all my life. Dismissive, reductive, the voice used on children who wander where they shouldn't. But Grandpa didn't let it stand. Elaine, explain why her address was replaced with yours. Her eyes flicked to my father, sharp and urgent, silently asking him to intervene. He shifted in his chair, opened his mouth, then closed it, so she tried again. I managed the household paperwork. If something needed updating, I probably handled it by mistake. A mistake. For 10 years, year after year, statement after statement, every email routed to her inbox. Someone might believe that, but not me. Not anymore. I stood up, pushing my chair back a few inches. The legs scraped the hardwood floor, slicing through the silence. If it was a mistake, I said quietly, then why was I the only one in this family who didn't know I had a trust fund? Why did I struggle while Marissa— Don't drag your sister into this, Mom snapped, her voice breaking for the first time. Marissa shrank into herself, eyes wide. I kept my voice calm. I'm not dragging her into anything. I'm just asking why someone made sure I never knew what was mine. For the first time all evening, my mother had no quick answer. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her fingers curled around her napkin so tight the fabric wrinkled. Grandpa leaned forward. Ellen, you deserve the truth, and you deserve control of your own finances. Control, a word I'd never been offered before. I exhaled slow and steady. This ends tonight, I said, and my voice didn't shake. I wasn't yelling, I wasn't crying, but inside something solidified, something sharp, something certain. I wasn't just the quiet one anymore. This time I wasn't going to look away. Grandpa was the one who finally broke the silence. He pushed his chair back, stood slowly, his joints stiff from age, but his presence towering, and looked around the table as if taking inventory of who he could still trust. Then he said, with the same calm that made everyone uneasy, "We're not finishing dinner until we understand what happened here." My mother stiffened. My father shifted. Marissa swallowed hard. Grandpa gestured toward the living room. All of us, come on. We moved as a group. a tense migration from the table to his study. The lights were warmer in there, softer, but the air felt colder. Something about walking into a room full of framed certificates, leather-bound books, and the old family crest on the wall made it impossible to pretend things were complicated or unclear. This room didn't tolerate excuses. Grandpa set the laptop on his desk. Sit. No one disobeyed. I stood behind the chair he'd pulled out for me, hands gripping the back, grounding myself. Mom sat beside Dad, her posture rigid, ready to argue. Marissa hovered near the doorway, as if hoping she could slip out unnoticed. Grandpa clicked into the email records. The blue-white glow cast long shadows on the walls. Here, he said. He opened an email dated 10 years back, the year I turned 17. This is when the contact information was changed. The screen revealed the old email crossed out, replaced by another. My mother's, a deliberate edit, time-stamped, logged, documented. Mom's breath hitched. That could be anything, she said quickly. Banks update things automatically. They don't, Grandpa cut in, not without the account holder or guardian requesting it. I looked at my father. Did you request it? He shook his head. He didn't even look at my mother. No. So who did? I asked quietly, already knowing. No one answered. Grandpa clicked again, opening the confirmation email that followed the update. A message thanking the user for verifying the new contact information. It wasn't vague. It wasn't unclear. It was tied to an IP address from our home in Seattle. My mother's voice cracked. I was just trying to keep things organized. I stared at her, the woman who taught me to say thank you for every small thing, who told me that life was easier if I didn't expect much. Organized? I repeated. Mom, you left me working double shifts while money in my name sat untouched. She recoiled like I'd slapped her. You were too young to understand responsibility. I didn't want you relying on money you didn't earn. I let out a small, humorless laugh. But Marissa could? Marissa flinched. I didn't know it was yours, Ellen, I swear. Mom said, don't. Mom snapped at her. Don't say another word. But the damage was done. Grandpa leaned back in his chair. Elaine, you kept a financial asset from its owner. That's not organization. That's control. My mother's voice sharpened. I did what I had to do for the family, for stability. Ellen never needed much, and Marissa needed everything. I asked, is that it? She pressed her lips together. Dad finally spoke, voice low. Elaine, we should have told her. We should have. My mother's head snapped toward him. Richard, not now. But Grandpa didn't let her dodge it. You lied, he said. To me, to Ellen, for a decade. My mother's jaw trembled. Arturo, please, you don't understand. And understand enough. He clicked another email. This one was a trust fund notification from 3 years ago, the year I was juggling rent, classes, and a campus job just to afford basic groceries. I remembered crying in the privacy of my tiny apartment, thinking I had failed at adulthood before I even began. The email subject mocked me now. Annual allocation update. Money that could have changed everything. Money I was never allowed to know existed. Mom, I said softly. Why? She closed her eyes. A tear fell. One singular, fragile, but her voice was still defensive. Because you wouldn't have made good decisions. You were always sensitive, easily overwhelmed. I needed to protect you from wasting it. My breath caught. Protect me? Yes, she insisted. And if you'd known about the trust, you would have gone off on your own too fast. You would have left us. The truth settled heavy between us. She didn't hide the money because I was irresponsible. She hid it because she was afraid I'd grow up without her permission. That wasn't your decision to make, I whispered. My mother shook her head, refusing the truth, even as it stood in front of her, undeniable. Everything I did was for this family. Grandpa's voice tightened. Then why did you do it only to Ellen? Why didn't you redirect Marissa's trust fund emails? The question punched a hole straight through every excuse she had built. She had no answer. The room was silent except for Grandpa's steady breathing. Then he turned to me. Ellen, you should have access to everything now. Full control. If you want, I can call the bank representative tonight. I nodded. Yes, I want that. Mom's head snapped up. You can't just... I can, Grandpa said, and I will. She looked at me, eyes wide, voice cracking. Ellen, please, we can handle this privately. No, I said. For once, this doesn't get handled in the dark. My mother stood abruptly, but her knees wobbled. She reached out to the desk for support. You don't understand what this means. If you take control, everything we built. I kept my voice quiet, steady. Mom, you didn't build it. You borrowed it from me. The words struck deeper than shouting ever could. She sank back into her chair. Grandpa placed a hand on my shoulder. You're doing the right thing. For the first time, I felt it too. Not triumph, not revenge, just clarity, a truth that finally belonged to me. I looked at the laptop, at the decade of stolen decisions, and I knew this was the moment my life split into before and after. Whatever came next, I wasn't going back. The bank representative called back within the hour, confirming the transfer of all access and notifications to me. Hearing my own name, my actual email listed as the rightful contact, felt strangely unreal, like stepping into a life I should have lived years ago. Grandpa squeezed my hand, proud but quiet, letting the moment be mine. My mother stayed seated, shoulders curled inward, not arguing anymore. My father finally met my eyes, guilt softening something that had been rigid for years. Marissa whispered a small apology as she passed me on her way out. Later, in the calm, after everyone left, I sat alone in Grandpa's study, scrolling through the newly restored notifications. 10 years of what-ifs, 10 years of choices stolen. But now, finally, I had control of the fund, of my future, of the story they tried to write without me. I walked out of Grandpa's house with nothing but a coat and a decade's worth of clarity. For the first time, my future belonged to me, not the people who feared I'd claim it. If this story hits something in you, share your experience below and subscribe for the next chapter.